What up? Let's see who we can piss off today, huh? So, artificial general intelligence is a lot closer than people think to being part of our everyday lives. It was very much so predicted that this time would come around 2080, but actually it keeps getting closer and closer. So yeah, apparently the data is there and artificial general intelligence is getting much closer to being part of our everyday lives when once upon a time people thought that this wouldn't be here for like hundreds of years. But clearly technology is getting better and better. And I would say that every 5 years technology gets better. And then eventually it's going to be every 2 years. And eventually it's just going to be happening so fast. So ARK Invest, they actually claim that by 2030, electric vehicle sales could be around 95% to even 100% for new electric vehicle sales in 2030. I mean, that is quite a call to say, but it may not be impossible because I think reaching that number would only be about 20% or 25% of the car market. A lot of people out there are very much so dedicated to their engines with gasoline, but it just seems to be that the trend is flowing towards electric vehicles lately, and it seems like this trend can continue. And if it does, it won't be very impossible to hit a very high number of 95% of electric vehicles sold by 2030. Now, when it comes to robo-taxis, which are just cars that drive themselves without human beings, oh yeah, it's happening. Shows that Tesla actually has a very good lead on a lot of the car companies out there with the data for self-driving, and it shows that full self-driving on a Tesla is 16% safer than the national average of people who crash their cars. So basically, the car that drives itself is a lot safer than human drivers currently. Also, ARK Invest do say that about 9,700 people are killed annually from emissions from gasoline cars. And they say that by 2030, it's very possible that they can save up to 10,000 lives annually from the reverse of emissions coming from gasoline cars. I mean, I don't know how that could be a bad thing. If people want to continue to drive their gasoline cars, of course, there's nothing wrong with that. But if it actually is taking the lives of I would say around 10,000 people annually from gasoline cars, wouldn't it be much better to switch to an alternative that can reduce the amount of people dying from the emissions coming from automobiles? Makes sense to me. Finally, American car companies are pulling back on their plans to make electric vehicles right now because they say that EV demand is gone, but it's not. But that's what they'll love to tell you so that you can continue to buy their gas cars to keep them in business for as long as they can. But eventually that tide is going to turn. And if the American car companies don't get their act together, it's very possible that we can have a repeat scenario from the 1980s when Honda came in and swooped up a whole lot of the car market. It's probably going to happen again. Well, there's some information for the day, ladies and gentlemen. Keep tuning in to see what's happening with the automotive industry and with technology, and especially with Tesla. See you tomorrow.